So Pedro, now you've been listening to Nippon and I speak, and I'm a social psychologist, he's an anthropologist. And you have a background in, I think, engineering and science and maths and a very technical past.
Yes.
What do you think of when you hear two other people talk about faith like we just did? What do you think now?
Well, you're quite right. My background is very much in science, and interestingly, perhaps also Portuguese culture and the Portuguese educational system is very, very technical.
Yes, yes.
Even the law system, the legal system, is very, very much attached to technicality.
Yes.
And I sense from very, very early years of my working life some frustration that I could never explain. That somehow what I was doing, what I was taught to do, and how I was taught that would be the solution to problems, somehow didn't feel right.
Okay.
And there was a frustration that I could never put my finger on for many, many years. And I kept moving from one thing to another.
Yes.
Thinking, okay, this looks better. I'll move on to this.
Yes.
So I think looking back, it was a very logical path. It was not a jump from one place to the other.
Yep.
So there was some conductive flow to it, but I was continuously moving from one thing to the other and never really being able to put my finger on this frustration that somehow this doesn't feel like the way we should be doing things. And when a couple of years ago, when I started working with Nippon, and then we came across your work, it hit me in a very different way. From all the things that I've come across previously, which somehow felt interesting,
yes,
but somehow they felt like they were adding on to what I knew.
Which you already knew?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
But it felt like this was something that adds on, and in my mind somehow my faith, my hope was, this is what will fill the gap that I've been feeling in the back of my mind.
Okay, so, but you're also a person in Portugal, which is a very, very religious history.
It is.
So
very Catholic.
Very Catholic, yes. So here's another question about faith. When we spoke about faith, do you tend to think that faith is only a religious word?
I used to, yes.
You used to?
Yes.
So what's moved? What's moved for you?
Well, very much in line with what you said, which is I came to realize that there's no reason why faith shouldn't be part of every aspect of a person's life.
Yes.
It has to be.
It has to be.
Yeah. So I never thought myself as an engineer. I had some training.
Yes.
Typical of an engineer.
Yes. But you would have never used the word faith, whereas now it's not so uncomfortable.
No, it is not uncomfortable at all.
Oh, good.
And looking back, perhaps in many cases I stayed clear of it because I knew that if I went into that sort of territory, I would never been taken seriously. That's
a risk I take all the time. Because when I use the word faith, I end up with all these people in risk and safety and regulation and everything, think I'm some sort of religious nut. Now, I do have a past in theology, and I have a past in religious studies, and I know this. But that's why I'm not afraid to use the word faith in someone who I see as a scientist. I see no difference in a scientist having faith in something. And then I've got a friend here who's an engineer with me, and I didn't know anything about quantum mechanics. I didn't even know what quantum mechanics was. And then this friend of mine who's an engineer says, Rob, this stage, science believe this. Then comes along quantum mechanics, completely tears it apart. And now all the scientists are now believing this. Oh, good. Okay, so did they have faith in that now? And now that we're having faith in this?
Yeah.
But the scientists won't use the word faith for those two things. And yet, I'm not afraid to use that, because when I look at it, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And now we've got quantum mechanics, which I have no idea what it is. I now see a whole bunch of scientists saying, oh, we were certain in this, but now we're certain in this.
Yeah.
No doubt at all.
That's precisely the thing that somehow I started questioning a lot more things. If you look back in history, that sort of phenomena
Yes.
has been present in every single scientific fact or scientific domain. Every single one.
Yeah.
You know, from the Earth being flat to being round.
Yes. Which the church actually was pushing that it was flat anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. And then science agreed with it.
Yeah,
and then they changed it.
This takes me back to something that you were also discussing with Nippon about learning.
Yes.
And as I was listening to you, I was coming into this idea that, well, because you're able to speak out so openly about faith
Yes.
in front of people and not give a second care about what people will think of you,
Yes.
well, simply that makes you a much braver person than I am. But then,
I'm not brave. Maybe I'm stupid.
but then again, come to think of it again, I think that means that you simply have gone through a learning journey that I haven't. And
I think
you
that's
know
true.
about faith
Yes.
gives you the confidence to
Yes.
speak about it,
Yes.
and it makes perfect sense to you.
Yes, it does.
You've embodied it.
Yes, I'm being embodied.
And
Yes.
for me, this is something that I just started doing recently, very recently.
Good.
And all of a sudden, I'm finding my own way of speaking about faith to people.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to become a bit more brave about it as well. But
Yeah, maybe. That's great.
so, but it's probably a lot more about the learning than it's,
Yes.
it's not about being brave.
Well,
It's
maybe
about
we should talk about some learning.
Yes,
Yeah, what that is. Yep.
great.